Well, we survived. As Brent, John, and I, the three of us who do the weekly dig on anime archaeology, sat at Clyde's in our post-apocalyptic con lunch, kind of looking at our respective drinks. John with his approximation of a sweet tea, me with my Diet Coke, my obligatory Diet Coke, and Brent with his hot tea, as we sat there, worn out, tired, disenchanted, disheartened, whatever you want to say, just down. And John, after a few moments of silence, says, well, we survived. And we toasted to that. That is the theme for Otakon 2022. We survived it. It was not the best effort that Otakon has put out, to say the least. The last time I went was in 2017. I had a wonderful time. Even with it being in a brand new venue, and both the venue and the con were feeling each other out to make sure that, see what would happen. And I've been wanting to get back ever since, but of course COVID and life, sometimes getting away. And I get there, finally, after 5 years, and that's what I got. And I'm going to talk about it, and a lot of it's going to be a lot of criticism. And I'm going to lay it down at Otakon's feet. Just going to give you a spoiler right there. But that is not to say that good things didn't happen. They did. And I'm going to talk about those at the end of the video. So I decided to end the video on the higher note of, hey, these are the things I had fun with. Here's my swag, and here's a short little video of Otakon 2022. So if you want to skip to that, the timestamp is down below, and by all means, please go. If you want to stick around and see what the con experience for me was like, I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but I can tell you what I see of it and what I feel of it, and saw the problems, and talk about the excuses that were made, the mistakes that were made, the bad decisions that were made. And I always feel that if you're going to criticize someone, you should try to offer some type of solution, so that it's going to be, I actually do have solutions of a sort that I hope that people will listen to, and maybe just maybe they'll take it into account. Maybe they'll say, hey, that might be a good idea, and take it on, and hopefully it will be a good idea. To that point, I want to, because somebody on the Facebook made, kind of called me out on, hey, they didn't say it this way, but basically, to paraphrase, hey, what makes you think you can say these things? And my response to that is basically this, as I drink my Diet Coke. This is going to be a long one, folks. This is what I put out whenever I, in the past, have defended Otakon, and I have defended Otakon a lot in the past. Watch my videos. You'll see I have defended them a lot. I criticized them for their online con, which did not work very well. But beyond that, I have been a big fan and supporter of Otakon. My videos show it and prove it. But I also say the following. The reason why I feel I can make these statements and make these comments and make these criticisms is because for a long period of time in my life, I've worked for various theaters and opera organizations where just a part of my job is to do things like recruiting volunteers, training them, scheduling things, ticket sales, line management. These are all parts of my job that I used to do for multiple organizations. Some of these organizations had, and think of it this way, a performance is like its own little mini-con, right? And so that means that you have a theater that can range anywhere from 300 to 4,000 people. Those are the ranges of the theaters that I've worked in. So think about it this way. You're doing 6 mini-cons a week, and you have to plan and support each of those performances or cons, right? So I do know what it's like. I do know what it's like to have a volunteer bail on you. I do know what it's like to have someone call out sick on you. I do know what it's like to have to struggle and recruit volunteers to come in to do the thing. And yes, I'm very much well aware that volunteers are unpaid. I'm going to get to that little point later on, and that really irritates me that that's being used as an excuse for their performance. As well as dumping it onto the security for the convention center. That's just inexcusable. And wrong. So I have a basis, a professional basis on doing this. This is something I did for a living. The only difference between Otakon and what I did is scale. Otakon is huge. They broke records this year, 40,000, in a place that has a capacity of 42,000. My scale is much smaller than that, but I do the same thing multiple times a year, whereas in Otakon you do it for 3 days. Like, the actual convention itself is 3 days. Okay? For me, it's a lot more. Or was, prior to COVID. So, having said that, let's go on and get into the bad and ugly of Otakon 2022. So, I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as I can, because I just did it now, and once I got it off the editor, I realized that I just talked and rambled and raged for 40 minutes, and I'm not going to do that to you. So, I'm just going to put this preface out there and just say, look, a lot of things happened. A lot of these things were small things. A lot of these things were big things. One of the big problems with Otakon this year was the fact that the staff and the Otakon staff and volunteers were not A game by any stretch of the imagination. The volunteers were not trained. They were not prepared. They were not equipped to do this convention. The department heads, I think, were probably inexperienced, and I didn't see them really backing their people up. I could be wrong on that one. I didn't really see it. It's one of those things where it's just like, it feels like nobody was backing anybody up. Communication was down, and I don't mean technically like they couldn't get in communication with each other. People were just not talking to each other and trying to affect solutions. So that caused a lot of problems. Just to give you an idea, I should have known that there was something wrong when we got our badges without lanyards. I don't know why that's a thing, but maybe it's a cost issue, I guess, but still, wouldn't you plan for that? There was, prior to the convention, the fact that Guidebook didn't get up until probably 48 hours or so prior to the convention. So you had, we didn't have that. We had the schedule online, right? You can go to the website. You could even go to Guidebook, and I think it had a schedule on there. But you couldn't really do what the Guidebook does for you. And I thought it was really strange how proud Otakon was when they finally were able to say, hey, the Guidebook is useful now. Because of the COVID policy, which was also another telltale sign, was saying, hey, we need to make sure that no one's, going to be a super spreader. We don't want this to be a super spreader event, so everyone's got to be vaxxed. So I'm willing to bet that the city probably said at some point, or right before the convention, saying, hey, you guys need to do this. So, I don't really blame Otakon for doing it and requiring vaccinations so we get to get the thing. I actually support that. I think that's a good idea. I just don't like how they did it, which was in a level of incompetence that was staggering. I don't like the fact that you had to go to a different place to get your 18 plus badge. That didn't seem right to me. Anyway, so prior to the thing, so we had a problem with the Guidebook not being active. We got our badge without lanyards, which was kind of disturbing. We got out of the blue 3 days prior to the event a COVID policy that really demanded that everybody have to show up on Thursday, basically, whether you got a badge or not. Again, I'm fine with it. It's just that, when I got there, it was so disorganized that I was actually standing in line, and that's how I got mine. Like, girl just came up and said, "Oh, I see you have your badge. Yeah, here it is. Do you have your ID and VAC card? Yeah, here we go. Okay, here, you're done. Boom, off you go." It's like, and everyone's just like looking at me going, do I do this? And, and instead of answering questions or walking around with a sign or yelling or something, they just kind of stood there and talked to each other. One of my friends who was doing a number of panels with the Otaku Brain Trust, he was supposed to be able to skip the line. See, by having the pre-reg badge, we were supposed to be able to do a line skip so that we could do as a reward for getting the badge early. That's what you're supposed to be able to do a line skip. And so, I was under the impression from the email and various other things online that, because I would have the badge, I could skip the line and then provide it and get it more quickly. Nope, they shoved everybody into one line. For the people who were panelists who were trying to get their things ready on Thursday were SOL because by the time they also were stuck in the same line. Everybody was stuck in the same line. And by the time he got in, he was able to get in before I did. And they didn't have anything prepared for him, so it was like a waste of time for him, other than to get the COVID thing. So it just wasn't boding well. And the next morning, we got there pretty early because he wasn't able to get the things he needed to get for his panel. And we get there and we're shoved in again in the same line. A lot of people were saying, "Oh yeah, you could go out the ramp." No, there was no sign. We were blocked, and we were told, "No, you go into the line." But I had my pre-reg badge, and I had my go in the line. I'm a panelist, go in the line. Well, can we go up that ramp and then go through the thing? No, go in the line. Okay. So, the whole reason why you have a pre-reg badge that you get in the mail is no longer a thing. Or at least for 2022. There was no signage for any other entrance. There was no communication. There was nothing that was given to us that would say, "Hey, do this." So the time is ticking. His panels that he's helping another guy with the Otaku Brain Trust is coming in, and we're told to go to the Marriott Center to, if you have a badge and you have all your bracelets, you can go to the Marriott and go through the concourse underneath and get in. And that's where the people who got their badge in the mail, that's where you're supposed to go. So we all go over there, or Brett and I run over there, go down the escalator, go down the escalator to the last escalator where there's about 20 people ahead of us. Same reason, they have their things, they have their badge, and they're ready to rock. Guy's holding everybody up. Staffer goes, they're setting up the metal detector downstairs. Okay, fine. What do you think they're going to be done? 8 or 8:30? Sorry, I don't know. Okay, thanks. Go back to the end of the line. We're at the escalator. So people are coming down the escalator thinking they're going to get in line, go down the thing, and be able to get to the con before other people do. Because we did the right things. We ordered our tickets, we got our badge, we paid money for it to come through the mail. We came in, we got our COVID badge, we got bracelets and whatever else we need. We did the right thing. We did what we were supposed to do. Otakon isn't. We get down there, and we're not getting through. So more and more people are coming down the escalator, and they don't know where to go because there's only the one guy down there. So there's not another person to guide people, to tell people. I know it should be obvious, but you really do need somebody there to tell them to go. You need to go off the escalator and go around the corner, and that's where the line resumes. And we're going to put people back that way. but there's no other people. There's not another staffer. Finally, a guy shows up, and he starts doing that. And we're like, oh, okay, great. My friend's got to get to his car. He's got to get to his panel. He's got to get his stuff. Come on. Can he get ahead? No. He's the panelist. He needs to be there. I can stay in line because I'm not. No. Okay. We see wave after wave of Otakon staffers coming down the escalator, coming down the stairs. And we're like, great! But they're getting free food and going back to wherever it is that they're going. Meanwhile, while we're down there waiting for things to get set up, barely having line management, guy doesn't know when the convention even starts. These people get the free food and they're like, meanwhile, up above, the line is growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. There is no communication. Nobody knows what to do, where to go. Staffers don't know the answers to these questions because they are not told these answers. There is actually a door that was supposed to be open with a sign that said, you have your badge, you have your COVID thing, you come in, we get you through bag check, and off you go. It was never opened. There was no signage. It was a locked door. We're down. Marriott, finally we get through. Get the con ops. I'm not going to go through the whole story of the con ops. I'm just going to tell you this. 10 to 13 people in there. None of them know what they're doing. Their leader, the department head of, I guess, panels, is running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Meanwhile, one of his own staffers is throwing him under the bus by saying, if somebody had been there at 7:30 this morning on the loading dock to receive all this stuff, then we wouldn't be having this problem. Not helpful, accurate, but not helpful. Meanwhile, we have the other people who are just sitting there going, stressing out, and then we have a table over here of the panelists sitting there going, so, starting in 10 minutes, what's going on? My buddy's the same way. I watched a guy get up, walk to the other side of the room, turn on his phone, and watch anime. He just walked away. Con staffer just walked away. It's like, no one's giving me any information. No one's giving me any training. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do anything for these people. So I'm just going to extricate myself out of this position. He probably did the right thing, honestly. So I have to look around. I find the guy because we don't have the materials that we need to prove that these people need to be in the panel. He has to actually write on a piece of paper and then stamp, take this little kid stamp you buy at Michael's, and stamp 2 squirrels on it, and illegibly write something on there saying that this guy's supposed to be there, and that's his ticket until he gets the actual, panelist, thing for his badge. But he's not doing it for anybody. Meanwhile, they all have to fill out waivers that they could have filled out and e-signed online. So there's more time being wasted. So finally, I grab this guy. I'm like, look, my buddy's got his panels that start in 15 minutes, man. Come on. Let's go. I'm that guy, right? I'm the jerk. I have to be the jerk to get the thing to do. Get going. We do it. We get going. We go do the thing. So there's that problem. Meanwhile, as all of this is going on, keep in mind that I just said that there was 10 to 13 people just standing there. The line outside is growing. Nobody's being informed what to do, where to go. I have a badge. Do I have to stay in this line? What do I need to do? I'm looking online. There's no information. Staffers are walking up and down the line, not being able to answer anything. And the line is growing. It's growing. It's growing. Okay? We get in there, and I'm just going to list off some things that happen. Because that's I don't really have time to story. I don't feel like doing this for 40 minutes. We tried to get into an 18 plus. John and I tried to get into an 18 plus Gunbusters video on Saturday night or early Saturday night. Turned out to be an 18 plus. We said, oh, we don't have our things because we didn't think this was going to be 18 plus. So we were, pull out our wallets and pulling out our ID, and they said, no, you have to have the wristband. Okay, but my ID, John's balding. He's got a gray beard, and we both have IDs. And no, you don't have the wristband. Go over here and get the wristband. Okay, we go over there to get the wristband. It's not there. It's, we have to go. We actually had a mini quest. Like if this was Genshin, it would have been like one of the dailies. We had to travel and say to talk to this person, then talk to that person, then talk to that person. None of which knew anything, but had vaguely said, "I think it's over there somewhere." And by the way, it was tucked away behind the ASL disabilities help desk. Way in the corner, way in the back of things of where the convention center business offices were. So we wound up getting it, but we wound up not seeing it because of blah blah blah. There was the Toonami retrospective with Steve Bloom and Bo Billingsley. We didn't know that they actually were there until we actually looked at the thing. We just read the title. We're like, oh, hey, look at that. So we're in the line, and a person who is very competent came up and actually told us to get against the wall and started folding the line on something. The thing that you should be doing. She did not know that they did not do a room clear. So all of it was fruitless because none of us were going to get in because they unfairly did not do a room clear. Which apparently is something that was happening quite often in the rest of the convention. That would be a thing. There were, like, Glam was doing an additional little thing for their fans that was not on the guidebook, that was not on the website, and just kind of happened, and nobody informed any of the fans about it. There was that. There was double booking on panels. There was weirdly scheduled panels like Brent was trying to do a panel for parents whose kids are getting into anime, and they had it at 10 o'clock at night. I'm not sure what that was all about. We had very poor choice of things to do. It was actually the schedule was very thin on things to do. We didn't have that much choices made. So, like, beyond the panels that I knew that I wanted to go to because I wanted to support my friends, there wasn't that many videos I wanted to watch. There wasn't many panels I wanted to go to. There weren't any workshops I wanted to go to. Blah 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 blah. So it was just very thin on the ground. That's really unusual for Otakon until you realize that they really loaded up on guests for this year, which is a telltale sign of something that I'm going to get into in a little bit. Saturday night rolls around. Finally, 18 plus panels are being started early at like 7:30, 8 o'clock. So there's room clears for those. And they're starting, and 85% of Otakon is under 17 or under 18, so they have nowhere to go. So where do they go? Meanwhile, the line is growing and growing and growing some more. People have been out there for 4 hours. A couple of people have been taken away in ambulances because of dehydration. We've had people take falls. Staff doesn't know what to do. Otakon failed because the convention center had to pick up a lot of the pieces. And when that happened, it just is a telltale mark that Otakon lost control of its own convention. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I can talk about here, but basically what it came down to was that when they hit the 40,000 person mark, I think somebody, this is me speculating, it's not fact, I'm speculating, this is my opinion, educated guess, if you will, that once the convention hit 40,000, the convention center employees were doing more and more of the tasks that the Otakon staffers were supposed to do, and they said, there's still a line out there, we might exceed capacity. I think somebody called the cops in to see whether or not the event should be shut down. Whoever talked the police out of it talked them out, but we only had 2,000 more people to go before we maxed that place out. And that's a big deal. That's not something to laugh at. There was a lot of safety problems, safety issues. There were a lot of people standing in front of escalators. Nobody was moving them out of the way. Line management, like I said, was so poor as to be dangerous, and lack of information. The dealer's room, they kept changing the entrances and exits halfway down, and they would open it and then they would close it. They would open it and then they would close it. Then they would open it and then they would close it. Meanwhile, the main one all the way at the end was still open, the entrance to. At one point on a Saturday, it closes at 6 p.m. We're trying to eat food to get out, and we had a woman, young staffer, who was clearly overwhelmed, screaming in the microphone. We can't understand. She finally gets to us. I'm just approaching the table with food, and I know that I'm going to have to just jam food in my mouth and then go to the glut of probably 3,000 people trying to get out of the dealer's room via one stairwell and 2 escalators. And that's it. So 3,000 people are smashing up in there. She's worried that we're not leaving the table to get into that mess. So it's a problem. And by that point, I snapped and I threw my chicken tenders and fries in the vague direction of the trash can, not caring if it made it or not. I was told later that it did make it in, so yay. I would have felt bad actually if it didn't. But you know, nobody was there to get people out of there smoothly. They were just jamming people on there. Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out. There was, like I said, there was a lot of safety issues. Double bookings, the whole 9 yards. Basically, I'm skipping over a lot. Like I said, the previous video I made of this went for 40 minutes, and just on this section alone. So suffice to say, Otakon failed. They lost control of their own convention, and there was no excuse for it. People are trying to lay it at the feet of the volunteers by saying, well, they're unpaid and that's why. That dog don't hunt. I'll explain why in the next section of this video. They tried to lay it at the feet of the convention center staff. Convention center staff only got involved because Otakon failed to maintain control of their convention. They had to. They had no choice. And they knew that they were not equipped to do a lot of the things that would come naturally to a convention staffer who knows what they're doing, but they had to step in. There was no choice. Otakon failed. This is dangerous. This is safety now. We're going beyond, my being annoyed that I can't get into an 18 plus, or I can't eat my dinner, I can't buy the thing at the dealer's room, room cleared, blah. This goes beyond that. We're talking safety issues, like people are getting hurt. Okay? So, I'm going to wrap up this section by saying, if you go online, you're going to see a lot of people with similar stories or other kinds of stories. And I believe them because we were seeing them with our own eyes. And there are people who are trying to, and Otakon is trying to gloss over this, and they really shouldn't. They should be just taking ownership of this and trying to figure out what to do for next year. To that point, I firmly believe that if you're going to criticize someone, if you're going to complain, piss, bitch, and moan, you should try to provide some solutions. So let's get on to that section. Okay, so we're at the point where I should probably provide solutions. And before I do that, I want to address 2 excuses that I've been seeing repeatedly online to explain what happened. To explain a lot of the debacle. It's kind of interesting because, like, some people who are enjoying the con, and for good reason, like if you're a cosplayer, you're not going to be seeing all that many panels or videos or things like that. You're going to be doing the cosplay stuff and maybe a workshop or 2 or some things like that. So if you're doing that and you had a great time, cool. Glad you did. And there's people with very narrow specific focuses like that. So, who are able to enjoy the con because they're really specific in what they're trying to do, which means that a lot of other stuff is not happening for them. So good, and if you're one of those people and you enjoyed Otakon 2022, I am so glad you did, and I'm glad you had a good time, and I hope you come back next year. The rest of us didn't. A lot, or I should say, a lot of the rest of us didn't. So I want to address a couple of the rumors that are not rumors, but excuses that are being used to explain what happened. Let me address, and I kind of alluded to it a little bit in detail in the previous section, which is that it's the fault somehow of the convention center security and employees for gumming up the lines to make the lines long. Like it's their fault that it took too long, that what they were doing slowed the process down so much that's why the lines got so huge and why people were out there for 4 hours. That's bunk. All right, I'm sorry. That's a load. That's a steaming load right there. Here's the thing. Actually, I was corrected in a conversation I was having online with somebody, and I said, "Well, they were spot checking." They said, "No, actually, they had metal detectors that were large. So instead, in 2017, where they literally did it individually by person and really did look into our bags, like had us open up our bags, and they dug in there. They just had us, get our electronics out, put it around the air, walk through the thing, done, ready to rock and roll." They were not there. They didn't, and all we had to do was, show our wrist, like the COVID and 18 plus or whatever, and our badge. So if you had all those things, you actually got through that part of it like that. That wasn't an issue unless you didn't happen to have one of those things. If you had those things, you got through very, very, very quickly. As a matter of fact, once they realized that they should be opening the door for people with badges who already have the badges, already have the wristbands and things like that, once they figured that out on Saturday, or I'm sorry, late Friday, once they figured that out, we were able to breeze right through. So that's not a thing. They are there for specific duties as stipulated by their contract with Otakon. So they're not going to do certain things. When Otakon lost control of their convention, or it was felt that they lost control of their convention by the convention center, that's when security had to step in and do things like the 18 plus panel, or 18 plus wristbands, because Otakon failed. They failed to control their own convention. And I'll get more into the why of that. The second thing that I would like to address is the fact that people are using the excuse that, well, the volunteers are unpaid, so, why should they care? Kind of argument of that's why they have the attitude, that's why they didn't know anything, that's why they didn't do anything, and that's why they were useless. People just don't show up sometimes. They don't get paid, so why should they care? My response to that is that when you volunteer, you're not going to get paid. You know this. This is not a surprise. This is not a shock. This is not like, oh, I'm volunteering. Wait, I don't get paid, but I'm volunteering. That's what volunteering means. You don't get paid. Now, let's be honest and talk about the motivation as to why these people are volunteering for Otakon. They want to go to the convention for free. Nothing wrong with that. They put in some work, they get to go to the convention for free. They get a free meal. Nothing wrong with that. That's how it should go. Nobody gets frickin' paid. What kind of argument is that? What makes you think that's an answer? What makes you think that is the reason why? The reason why the Otakon's volunteer staff wasn't able to do their job is because they were not trained to do their jobs. They weren't. It was clear. It was very clear that they weren't trained to do their jobs. So if you're not trained to do your jobs, and if you don't what appears to have any backup whatsoever, I didn't see any departments head backing up people. As a matter of fact, what I saw in the con ops room, They didn't even want to deal with their panel department head. So I didn't see any leadership or management whatsoever coming down from the top. I did not see any of that at all. What I saw were a bunch of 17 to 22-year-olds, maybe 23, volunteering so they can work their little shift, so they can go to the con for free, and they were overwhelmed. They were not trained. They were ill-equipped. They had no idea that they were going to get blindsided. And they did get blindsided. So I do not blame the volunteers. While I get irritated I didn't get answers out from them and some of their behavior was not great, like the girl down in the dealer's room, I can forgive it because I know what happened. They were not trained. If they were trained, we would not have gotten the response that we got. So a lot of people are saying, well, there's no way to plan for the 40,000 attendee mark. We didn't know that was going to happen. I can agree with you to a point. I can agree with you to say you may not have known that it was going to go to 40,000, but you knew it was going to be a big attendance group this year, and you should have planned for it. Do you know how I know you know that? Here's how I know. Or at the very least, you had the indicators and you ignored it. Here's how it is. You did not pay attention to how many badges you sold and how quickly they sold during the earlier in the year. If you had paid attention to that, you would have seen at first, you would have gone, whoa, we've got interest. Why do we have interest? The question would have been asked to look at this situation in the events to figure out, are we going to get slammed this year? And if so, wow, we need to buck up. You could have had that. You could have made these decisions months ago. Okay, so there's that. The other indicator are the groups, the guests. Otakon had an impressive guest list this year, and kudos to the people who were able to make that happen. Don't you think that if you have an impressive guest list and you put it on and you keep releasing the names over every week and you have these people getting excited, don't you think that you might have a large attendance number because of it? Think. I think at the last second, they just totally ignored what was going on. At the last second, they figured it out, and they said, oh, crap, we're boned. And they had nothing, there's nothing else they could do. Now, there was an argument going on, and still going on, whether or not there was actually enough volunteers. At first, I was saying there may not have been, and that there should have been a plan to bring in more. I'm now reversing that thought and saying maybe there actually were enough people, because apparently the numbers I'm hearing is 800 volunteers. That's enough, honestly. But if they're trained, if they have management, and if they have leadership, then yes, they would have been able, with difficulty, to be fair, with difficulty, they would have been able to handle the 40,000 attendee mark. But that didn't happen. They were not trained. So that's why I'm saying that these two rumors, these two excuses are just that, excuses. Don't try that on me. I'm sorry. I've done this for a living. It doesn't pan out. It just doesn't. Otakon fell on this. Otakon failed, and they lost control of their own convention as a result. So, what are the solutions? Okay. We know now that based on the way that they are unable to currently train their volunteers properly to get their department heads to do the job that they need to do to support their volunteers, and that the organization from top to bottom didn't seem to be working well or communicating well. You should probably do the following. First of all, cap the event. Okay, so that's number one. Cap the event. Okay, great. We can get 40,000 people to Otakon. Awesome. But you have to be able to put on a good con. If you can't make those 40,000 people happy, then you're failing. Okay, you're failing your mission. The mission is to have an event for people to enjoy and it has to do with anime in Japan and things of that nature. If you can't do it for 40,000 people, then don't do it for 40,000 people. Put a cap. I think it's reasonable to say somewhere between 30 and 33,000. That's just my guesstimate. People might feel differently, but I think that's something that would be respectable numbers, right? And I think it's something that Otakon can do. I think they can manage a con like that, particularly with that convention center. I think that can happen. So, number one, cap. Number two, you're going to need to overhaul your internal policies and your external policies concerning your department heads and how you recruit and train your volunteers. These are the two groups that have to work together in close knit. They have to be able to be effective as a unit. That did not happen in 2022. So whatever it is that's in your SOP and your standard operating procedure, if you have a manual, whatever, you probably should throw that manual out and try again and get someone to help you do better with department heads managing the volunteers that they get. And you have to do a better job of training the volunteers. If you don't want to be known as the Line Con, which is ridiculous, why should you be happy with that name? If you want to get rid of that, train up your volunteers. They know they're not getting paid. That's not an excuse for behavior or lack of skill. Okay? Train, and make it fun. If you make it fun and you reward good work for these volunteers, they will come back. And you want that. The more that come back, the less you have to recruit, the less you have to train. Makes sense, right? It's what I used to do for a living. Okay? But that means that you have to get your department heads in line. They have to have the authority that matches the responsibility of what they're doing. And that's the same, but to a lesser extent for the volunteers. You have to give these people the authority and the responsibility to make decisions on the spot. Okay? They have to be able to do that. Now, if you have a person who's not able to do that, like what I saw in ConOps, maybe that person should not be a department head. I know that kind of sucks, but we're talking about safety at this point. We're not talking about having a good time. We're talking about safety. Okay? So, train up your volunteers as much as possible. Reward good work. Do the same for your department heads. Your department heads are basically your managers. They have to be able to provide the last thing, the other thing. Leadership. Don't put somebody in there as a warm body just to fill the slot. So you can say, oh, we got somebody in there. No, that person has to have leadership skills so they can actively, with confidence, direct their volunteers in whatever it is that they do, whether it's line management, whether it's being a gopher, whether you're looking over the rooms, whatever it is. They have to have the confidence and leadership to impart onto others. And the other part of this is that when you're looking at a volunteer who's really good, maybe you should bump them up the chain a little bit. Nobody's getting paid, we all know that. But it feels pretty nice when you do a good job and someone says, hey, good job, would you consider doing this instead? That's a nice feeling. That's a nice feeling for somebody who works hard. But I don't see that being done. So you need to overhaul your internal policies and your external policies to make those things happen. I don't know what those policies are, so, you might have some good stuff in there, you might have some bad stuff in there. I don't really know. All I know is when I can see what happened, which was not good. The other thing that needs to happen here is that it is probably not inappropriate for Otaku to have a meeting called by us members to take the board to task. I'm sorry, I know if you're on the board, you don't want to hear this, but ultimately the buck stops with you. And you're going to have to take responsibility at some point for some of this. You are supposed to provide the leadership for everybody else. You're the ones who are supposed to look at the department's head, the people who are running the con, who are doing this, that, and the other thing for the convention. You are ultimately responsible. And we probably need to take a look at what you're doing as well. And that might require changes. Just saying. I think if we attack these core problems, and if you take these core problems and you rectify them, you're going to have a better convention. A better convention means a better time, means that you'll be able to handle your convention, that you'll never lose control again. You lost Otakon. I'm telling you, whether you want to admit it or not, you lost control of your own convention. That is bad. If it were up to me, I would put a question mark behind 2023 because I'm not confident in you. I'm sorry, I'm not. I don't have the confidence that you can do this again. You didn't do it this time. Why do you think Funimation didn't show up in the vendors room? Why do you think those big time vendors didn't show up? You're going to lose more vendors, especially with what happened in the dealer's room. Why do you think the dealers didn't discount their prices on Sunday? Why do you think that happened? It's not because they're trying to cheat the congoers. They're trying to make up the money you helped lose. That's on you. Do you think a lot of these vendors can afford to come back if you're going to do things like that? Do you really think that's right? Cap. Change your internal policies, your external policies. Train up your department heads and your volunteers. Make it fun. Make it so that they want to come back. And hold the board accountable. Those are the things that need to be done for 2023. A lot of problems, if you do that, a lot of issues will clear up on their own. It's not a panacea. It's not going to cure everything. Nope. But for the core things that you guys in Otakon really need to worry about, it goes a long way. Those are my solutions. Take it or leave it. Up to you. Your call. Let's talk about some good things for a change, okay? So here's the cool things that I enjoyed, that I really enjoyed. First of all, in the dealer's room, one of the things I enjoyed was again, like in 2017, the food choices. I know a lot of people are like, oh, there was only 4 of them. Well, they were actually 4 good ones. They were four good choices. An Asian, Caribbean, Firehouse Subs, and what was it? Kind of like not Nathan's Fries, but kind of like that fries and hot dogs and hamburgers and that kind of thing. It was actually a nice thing to be able to not have to leave the con, get something simple, take it to a table right there near the dealers, and mow it, and then go on with your day. Particularly impressed with Firehouse Subs, the way that they handled themselves. They pre-made their subs, packaged them, so that when we got up there, literally, you go, I want a turkey sub, there it is. Brownie, there it is. I'm going to get a Coke out there. Okay, you get that. I get that. I want chips. They're right in front of you. Okay, boom. Ready to go, rock and roll, and you're out. You're done. You pay your money, and you go to your table, and you eat your food. And it was actually good food. Actually, the brownie at Firehouse Subs was actually especially good. So anyway, so the food was really kind of nice. And while it is convention prices, the convenience, I think, makes up for it. Artist Alley. Wow. It improves every year. Every time I've been checking it out. There's some wonderful stuff. Someone did Anya from Spy Family coasters. I mean, those were fun. Someone did a dark crystal print on a mat, and that was gorgeous. Someone did a comb, and I really wanted it, but I just don't have a place to put it. There were some wonderful small paintings. There was tintypes that looked very, very interesting. Someone did a crochet blanket of the map of Legend of Zelda, the original game. I was like, I kind of want that. So my point is that the artist alley was really rocking, and it was really nice, and the people were offering very, very talented things. I mean, it was just really nice. Kudos. Let's see here. There was the dealer's room. Actual vendors were pretty good. I'm going to get to the swag I got here in a little bit. It was kind of nice. It wasn't too jammed up. Freeform movie, the way that they have it set up is that it gave it a lot more room. If you remember the BCC, you're like, oh. If you're a big guy like me, you kind of go, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, So it was really nice to have room, basically, more or less. So that was pretty cool. And also I was able to find a lot of stuff. So, like I said, I'll get to that in a second. What else? There was other panels that I did go to that were not my friends. We went to the Suki panel, which was online manga. It was basically just, it wasn't so much a panel as it was an ad, kind of like, in-person ad. And it was actually pretty nice. I'm going to be checking them out later, and I might get a subscription. I don't know. It was kind of, the guy was very energetic and talkative and very, interactive, and, enjoyed answering questions and things like that. So yay. Industry panel, yay. Orange Studios, the guys who do Beastars, the guy was there, and he was telling us stuff that was going on, and gave us a little snippet of Trigun, the new Trigun that's coming out. It looks gorgeous. Anyway, he was funny, very knowledgeable, answered a lot of really good questions. A lot of people had a lot of good questions for that. We saw a light novel, a panel that was about light novels going into anime, and the people that they had to have translators, but they actually brought people in from Japan that they were answering the questions, and voice actors that were. It wasn't just like the writer and the publisher and an anime person. It was also the voice actors, directors, and things like that. So it was very informative. It was kind of neat. You just have to deal with the translators. What else did we see? We saw a really neat little panel by accident. We just didn't have anywhere to go. We walked in. A history of kimonos. Two sisters were doing that. I'm blanking on their names, but it was very informative. And they had one of their friends walking around with the actual silk and fabric and designs on it, and up close and see it. And it was just really nice, kind of fun and informative. Outside of the guys that I went to see do the panels, the Kyoto Anime panel was pretty neat. My friends Brent's panels were always fun. Dunbean, Battle Aura Battler Dunbean. I'm gonna have to check that video out. That was the one anime that I'm like, it's a vintage anime, but I want to check it out. It seems to be pretty good. After Brent's last panel on Sunday, we had a really nice conversation with a couple guys outside of the panel room. So glad that you guys showed up. We it's always nice to meet somebody else who has same interests, and we just talk about it and just kind of click like that. That was really cool. You two guys, thanks for showing up afterwards and asking questions. That was really fun, and I hope we'll meet each other again. The cosplay. What can I say about the cosplay? The cosplay was always fun. It's always fun. So much Genshin. Oh my god, so much Genshin. But good Genshin. I'll show a couple pictures in the video later on. Gosh, what else? I'm gonna call it right there. So let's get into the swag. All right. So, I really liked the anime Kino's Journey, and I've been wanting to read the manga. Now at the dealer's room, I couldn't find the first volumes 1, 2, and 3. I found 4 and 5. So I found these two, right? Okay, and just kind of take a look at some of the mechanical designs on the back there. That's pretty cool. I don't know if you can see that. And there's this guy. That's pretty cool. So, looking forward to reading these eventually. Speaking of manga, a very favorite of mine over the years has been Kurosagi Corp Service, Delivery Service. For those of you who've been watching the channel for a while, know I love this. the latest stuff from them on this omnibus. I'm sure there's some stuff in here that I already know, but I think there's some new stuff in here as well, and I'm looking forward to that. Also came across a place where they sell music and, you know, like CDs and stuff, and I had a really tough time. They had like a whole bunch of Pillows albums, just a whole bunch of stuff, and I had to choose because, you know, I only have so much money. And so the first thing I picked up was this. So I don't know if you can see that or not. So this is Fullmetal Alchemist Complete Best. So this is kind of the intro and outro songs. Has a DVD in here. Has some booklets in here. Has the CD in here. Has, you know, Ready Steady Go, Larkin Cell, Undo by Cool Joke, Asian Kung Fu Generation. You know, all the good stuff is in here. I actually had a copy of this, but it was just in a jewel case and didn't have quite all the good stuff in here that this has. So this was a nice find. What else did I get? I got, for those Macross fans, Macross Plus. Yes, right? Do I even say anything about that? So this is going to be very, very interesting, and can't wait to listen to this. This is great for those of you who haven't watched Macross Plus. Please do. This is Yoko Kanno, by the way. Speaking of Yoko Kanno, I believe, I could be wrong, but I may be wrong, but I think this is the music to the live action series. So I'm really, really looking forward to listening to this. It looks there's a second CD in here. What is this? Ooh, something to check out. All right. So there's the regular CD, right? And then there's this little thing. What do you think? That could be interesting. That could be fun. All right. So there's that, and then the crown jewel. So about 12 years ago, I saw an AMV, and I kind of did some research on the AMV, and I wound up seeing this one particular short, and I saw a couple others from this one DVD. The AMV is based off of A Farewell to Weapons, and it was just a very interesting looking short. And like I said, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I've seen one of the other shorts on this, and the compilation is from Katsuhiro Otomo, Akira fame, if I remember correctly, and it is called Short Piece. Like, I literally walked into the dealer's rooms telling the guys, going, you know, I'm not really interested in getting a DVD, and, you know, because I got so much DVDs. Oh my god, it's Short Piece. So, you know, I had to buy it. Okay, so that's my swag. Some cool stuff I get to enjoy. Alright, and alright, let's get into the video, short little video of Otakon 2022.
It's supposed to feel.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life. I never miss, that's fact, taking big swings, put your hand to the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light. Ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel, I took the red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real, but how's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? wanna say they hate, but they know it's cap. I ain't play no games, I just do that's fact. And I don't feel no shame, it's a mood you lack. I go crazy, nah, but I ain't lazy. Track after track, I work on this shit daily. Pass me the jack, right as fuel, got me hazy. About to unpack all these shit I've been chasing. I've got visions in my head, like memories after death. To be a legend instead of something you can forget. I'm living up every breath, I'd rather lead than be led. I'll fill the seats as I spread with every word that I've said.